Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let's all settle down. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christine. I will be your host for today. And on regular days, I'm at the admin office. But for today, I'm your host. And welcome to the first of the lecture series for this year's EEEI Centennial celebration. So I think that we're very lucky to be here in this room because I think to start celebrating such a very important event, the Centennial year, it's essential to look back at the history of the institute that we are in. So let's start this event with someone you're all familiar with kasi kanina pa siya nagsasalita dito sa harap. So for the opening remarks, I'd like to give the mic to Dr. Randy Camaro.
Talaga, no? Sige, thank you. So this is just a short welcome or opening remarks. So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. This is the first lectures of our EEE Centennial lecture series. So we want this to be so it's a lecture series to commemorate our celebration of 100 years. So this is the first of a series of lectures. So we want this to be, siguro after this there will be 11 more, hopefully, hopefully one every month. So we invite our alumni or alumni, not only alumni, successful alumni, to talk here, to talk about their success, their careers outside of Tripoli. So I think yung motivations ng Centennial lectures na to is that for you, the other guys or the younger generations, to see or hopefully have an idea kung ano yung potentially how you can be successful also in your career later on after Tripoli, even if hindi ka kailangan mag-abroad or look for opportunities elsewhere. So even if you are here, you stay here in the country, you serve, or in whatever capacity, nandito kayo, you can put up a company, you can do whatever you want, get a job. Basta, as long as you're successful here, we want that those kinds of success stories to be shared to the younger generations. Marami kasi mga graduates na rin, they go to Singapore, Australia, and other countries to be successful. But the point of this Centennial lecture is that you can also be successful here in our country. So that's what we want to instill, at least in principle. So we invite alumni or alumni of Tripoli, pwedeng faculty members or other prominent figures in government and in industry to talk about their success while being here in the Philippines. So at least that gives you an idea that we can also be successful by being here locally. So this is one of the many, hopefully we will have 11 more, hopefully once a month, depending on the availability of the speakers. So February we'll have a different set of speakers, March, April, May, until the end of our Centennial year, December 2016. So this is part of our Centennial celebration. So I hope I will see you again in the next lectures, February. So yeah, I think that's it for welcoming remarks. Again, thank you all for your time here. Thank you very much. Introduce ko daw. Ako rin pala yung introduction. Introduction to the speaker. So we are very fortunate here to have Dr. Alarilla as our inaugural speaker for the Centennial lecture series. According to the data given to me, graduated PSEE 1966. Wala na MS, no, sir. Diretso PhD na. He got his degree, PhD in electrical engineering at Iowa State University. Anong year? Wala, no? 1966 na-graduate. PhD in electrical engineering in Iowa State. 72, 70, 73, 69. Ilang years ang PhD?
4 years, 5 years usually.
4 years, 5 years usually. Ano yung tama? 1974, tama ba, sir? 1974, he got his PhD at Iowa State University. So, as a brief introduction, nakwento ko lang ng teacher ko si Doc Alarilla, E264, 265 in computer architectures. Siguro as a brief background, career ni Doc Alarilla, chair of the department from 1975 to 1981. He was the chair of the then Department of Electrical Engineering. And then he had significant accomplishments, and that position he revised the undergraduate curriculum and MS curriculum, and he played a significant role in starting the computer science program sa UP College of Engineering. Tapos, naging director siya ng computer center. I don't know what year nag-start. For a long time. Or... ano nag-start? Tapos pagpasok ko, director na siya ng computer. Ay, si Sir Ramirez pa muna. And then si Doc Alarilla. At least, that's how I remember si Doc Alarilla. So, kukwento na lang siguro ni Doc Alarilla ng mga ang matawag escapades in the College of Engineering and as director of the Computer Center. So during that time, he also, during that time, director of the Computer Center, nag-advise din siya ng mga undergraduate students. Also in Computer Engineering, he was a part of the Faculty of Electronics Lab, part of the EEE. Nag-advise din siya ng mga graduate students. He was also an active member of the IEEE Philippine section. So naging vice chair si Doc Alarilla, at later on naging president din for several terms ng IEEE Philippine section. So that's, I think that's an overview of the career ni Dr. Alarilla. But that's what I know, pero siguro si Dr. Alarilla na magkukwento ng the rest. So please join me in welcoming our inaugural speaker for this afternoon, Dr. Louis Alarilla.
Okay, the title is 50 years. As he said, I graduated 1966, something like April 66. And I was appointed to the faculty June 1966. So it's going to be June that it's going to be 50 years. It's June. Actually, if you count my grade school, it's going to be 60 years plus. Because I've been studying here since grade school.
UPISK.
That's because my father was also a professor in the university. Okay. Okay, basically what I will do is trace the history of the department from the time I joined. Actually, also some indications before I joined. Because what I went through was the worst time of the department. Okay, in the 50s, after the war, the university transferred from Padre Paura to Diliman. Okay? So they started building the Melchor Hall and the major buildings in the academic oval. Okay? To restart the College of Engineering, I think the university got a grant from USAID for faculty development. So almost all the faculty members in the College of Engineering were sent abroad for master's degree. The same thing, you know this because my father also went abroad under USAID. Okay.
Junior pala.
Okay, so that took care of faculty development and some equipment acquisition. No? That's what I found when I entered the College of Engineering. There were 3 laboratories. Okay, one is RCA, that's the electronics laboratory. And then there was a power laboratory under the library, okay, with huge machines. Then there was another laboratory that was connected with DCUP, but rarely used for instruction. And that's the whole EEE laboratory setup. And our office was 1 bay in Melchor Hall. I think the maximum number of items were 7. But most of the time, only less than 5 were
There.
around.
At any given
Because
time.
after getting the master's degree, a lot of people went back to the States. Why? Because the salary was terrible.
Hanggang ngayon din naman.
Well, it cannot be worse than than at that time, no? So that created a problem which we inherited. Okay? So when I entered the College of Engineering, there was a chairman of the department. Mag Albarracin was the chairman then. Okay? But after 1 year, he left. Because he was offered a PhD slot at the College of Business Administration. So by our 4th year, everybody left. All that were left were the young instructors and lecturers. Because they were all instructors, there was no chairman. So the dean had to serve as chairman of the department. What that meant was the secretary of the college was serving as the chairman. Because there were no senior staff, I was recruited into the faculty by the chairman of the Department of Engineering Science, Prof. Ilyo.
So si Ilya nag-recruit.
I was recruited while walking on my way home. Because we were passing through the same road. Okay? That's how casual it was. Anyway, since everybody left, by June 1966, when I joined the faculty, I was number 2 in seniority. The number 1 guy graduated 1 year ahead of me. That's the reason why he was number 1. So you can see how bad that is. Imagine fresh graduate teaching senior level courses. So hopefully our students were able to get through this. Okay. So basically at that time I was thinking that we were generating good graduates in spite of the faculty and in spite of the poor laboratories. Okay, so the problem started in the late 60s because everybody who went abroad came back, taught, and then left for abroad again. Well, I couldn't blame them because when I joined the faculty, my salary was 330 pesos a month. That does not sound too appealing today. Okay? But for us, that was okay. No? I was still able to save 330 pesos a month. I think the ikot was only 5 centavos.
Yung nga tatanong ko, magkano yung ikot?
So cost of living was still low. Anyway, the university was fortunate in getting Carlos P. Romulo as president of UP in the mid-60s. Okay? Because he was known internationally, he was able to swing a deal getting Ford Foundation money, actually a grant from the Ford Foundation to develop the College of Engineering. Okay, what this involved was faculty development, bringing in visiting professors, and then equipment acquisition. So the visiting professors saw right away that the need were for PhD level faculty. Okay? So all the faculty development grants were PhD level. Well, to help also in the process, they brought in visiting professor. Okay, this was sorely needed in the EE department because, as I said, there was no senior faculty. So there was no curriculum development, whatever. So the first thing the Americans saw was how bad the curriculum was. Okay, how bad was it? They had to offer an electromagnetic course in the graduates so that we could improve ourselves and get ready for graduate school in the US. Imagine, graduate school electromagnetics. You take that very early, okay? Okay, among the notable equipment donated by the Ford Foundation was the first mainframe in the university, an IBM 360. Okay, at that time, that was the largest computer in the country.
Kasi laki ng air conditioners.
No, it occupied probably, what, 1/4 of the
One-fourth
area
of the area.
of this.
Ah. IBM 360.
But the capability of that computer was severely limited compared to local computer, recent computers. The memory was all of 64K. And the total disk drive, your phones probably have higher disk capacity than the disk drive of that mainframe. And that was the best in the country at that time. Okay, that's memorable for me because that's where I learned programming. That was the first time I saw a digital computer. So that introduced me to computers, and I eventually specialized in architecture. No? Okay, part of the reason why I specialized in architecture is because the goal was to later on set up a computer science department. So as you can see, the Ford Foundation grant was really the one that reestablished the department on track. Okay, after I came back, so the main thrust was to review the curriculum because we now have more people with graduate degrees. So improving the curriculum was number one. The second one was establishing a master's degree. Okay, that occurred in the late 70s. Along the way, the college got a loan from, well, the Philippine government got a loan from ADB to improve engineering education. And we were the lead agency because we had graduate courses. So again, that brought in faculty development in terms of additional PhD slots and also equipment acquisition. So after that, the next level of funding came from the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, again to improve engineering education. So we again got faculty development grants, equipment acquisition. Unfortunately, I think after that UNDP grant, everything dried up. So we had to rely again on the old government budget. That's why after the 80s, there were also a lot of faculty leaving the department. And then in the 90s, I think it was all DOST as main funding agency. So we had a lot additional faculty development slots, additional equipment. Okay. So what have we learned from these 50 years? Well, the problem in the mid 60s, when everybody, all senior left, should not happen again. No? Well, now with more senior faculty and a lot better salary, there's more chance of retaining the faculty. Retaining a certain number of senior faculty is critical in planning and curriculum development. Okay? There are no senior faculty, there is nothing left. Okay? You just a few years ahead of your students. Okay, this is important because the same thing happened in the computer science department. I was, I guess, the lead person in establishing the computer science department together with visiting professors and consultants. Okay? So that was the part of the UNDP grant. No? Unfortunately, all the people that we sent abroad came back and left. That's why the computer science department in UP Los Baños developed much faster than the computer science department here. Because they were able to retain a certain number of people in their department. I guess these are the natives of Los Baños who don't want to leave Los Baños. So they will leave for a short while but come back again. So that's why they were able to develop their graduate program earlier. Okay. We are now facing the next 100 years. Okay. We are retaining more faculty. We have more and better facilities. Well, better than 1 room for office and 3 laboratories. And lastly, we are getting more funding. But the big question is, why did it take us so long to get here? Well, in the mid-60s, UP and Chulalongkorn University were about on the same level. When the American visiting professors came here, there were a lot of Thai students who enrolled in the graduate courses. Not from Chula, but from King Mongkut. Okay, so sadly to say, now we are much behind than Chulalongkorn University, as Randy can probably test. So we are behind Chulalongkorn University in terms of engineering education. I won't mention National University of Singapore. That's way up there. Okay. So who do we blame? Well, my favorite culprit for all our local woes are your friendly politicians.
Friendly, ano?
Your local politicians. We have a lot of corruption, but there is also corruption in Thailand. Okay? We have no monopoly on corruption. All politicians eventually become corrupt. However, in Thailand, the politicians cannot mess with the university. The politicians can mess with the university budget, but they cannot touch Chulalongkorn's primary endowment. Chulalongkorn owns the most expensive real estate in downtown Bangkok. And that has been their independent source of income. Nobody can touch that because it was given to them by the King of Thailand. So the politicians cannot pass any law to overturn the king. Okay, there's also something different in Thailand. It seems that you cannot just set up a new state university. Here, the politicians set up universities left and right. Okay? In every province, in every city. Okay? Sometimes with nobody competent to teach in those universities. It seems that I think the reason could be that in Thailand, you may need a king's proclamation or an edict to set up a university. That's why the money for university education is limited to what? Two as far as I know. There may be more now, no? Chulalongkorn and King Mongkut. So basically, it's funneling more money into fewer recipients. Here, what they want is to divide up the pie into their local political terms. Okay? So you end up with state universities in all provinces, in all major cities, instead of concentrating the money on a few good universities. Actually, the same thing is done in the city of Singapore. At the start, it was NUS, National University of Singapore, that they were funding. Okay? When it was well developed, they started giving more money to Nanyang. Okay? So there are the two older universities. I think they have set up more universities now because they have more money. Okay? So, another interesting thing in Singapore, the last time I went there, I visited their supercomputer center. Okay. And one thing I noticed, there were boxes of new computers lying in the corridors, unopened. When I asked the people there, how can you afford so much equipment? That's because part of the lotto operations goes to us.
Electronic.
Just imagine if part of the lotto goes to us, how much money we will get.
Electronic lotto operations. Kaya natin. Kaya natin.
Here, they use the money from the lotto for political goals. Okay? Anyway, maybe going back to the original intent of this lecture, why did I stay so long?
Yes.
Well, I guess it's partly because of my inabilities. At the time when we were graduating, there were really not much technical jobs available. NPC, Meralco, IBM. Basically, there were more jobs selling than technical jobs. And the guys who were selling equipment made a lot of money. Actually, there was one company that was really made up of electrical engineering alumni, Asia Industries. They made the most money selling all sorts of equipment. Okay? From generators, telephone switching equipment. Well, I cannot be a salesman, so I was stuck with being a teacher. Okay, one other reason I stayed was I'll probably get bored in an 8 to 5 job. Anyway, one of the key recommendations of the Ford Foundation visiting professors, when they saw the salary rates, was they said the college should set up a foundation to supplement the salaries of the engineering professors, because they've done that also in the United States. However, it's not as bad as here. No? In the United States, for public officials, they publish the salaries of all public officials every year. And in that particular state, guess who the highest paid employee in the state? It's not the governor. It's a professor in the College of Medicine. So that gives you an idea of how important the university is to the state. And also, in some cases, the faculty were just given 9-month appointments. Okay? So they're left to fend for themselves for the 3 months that was open. Some cases, they made more money during those 3 months working for outside than the 9 months spent as regular state employees. The other thing why I stayed was that I was learning something new most of the time. I never learned anything about networking when I was a grad student because there were no network available at that time. They were just experimenting with packet switching at the University of Hawaii using ARPANET, I think that's the name. Okay.
74.
They're just starting to work on the internet. Okay. It was still subject of PhD level research. So when I became director, I moved the computing platforms from mainframe to local area networks of personal computers, and eventually the whole campus got connected. I was also involved in the connection of the local universities to the internet. Okay, the benefactor then was the Department of Science and Technology. Okay. I guess it started during the time of Cory Aquino, whose science advisor was Father Nebres. So he was able to influence the president to give more money for science and technology. So we started exploring the possibility of connecting to the internet. Okay, the first connection of the UP to the internet was a dial-up line to Australia.
64
You can
kbps.
imagine how slow that's going to be. And that's serving the whole campus. So it was primarily email.
Sinong ISP nun, sir? Sinong ISP niya nun?
Well, at that time, it was still a monopoly. PLDT. That's why when we set up the Philippine Network Foundation, we had a hard time because it was a monopoly. Anyway, much later on, the Department of Science and Technology decided to give money to interconnect universities to the internet. So it gave the money to a foundation that was managed by the universities involved. So that started the connection to the internet. Well, for me, it was learning something new again. Okay. Not something I learned in graduate school. So one advantage of this job is you always learn something new. Okay. Well, what was a surprise for me was I still learned something new from my EEE 10. I don't know if you know what EEE 10 is. That's electrical engineering for
Electrical engineers.
engineering majors. Well, our original name for the course was Everyday EEE, but the campus decided we needed a Tagalog name. So Manuel ran a contest among our undergrads asking for suggestions for a Tagalog name. And it became Radyo Kuryente at iba pa, which is not everyday people.
Tipon isa pang araw.
Okay, what did I learn from my Tripolitan? Remember, I set up the first courses in switching theory. Because I was the only one who had taken switching theory before. And I never found out who started switching theory. Because most textbooks just started right away on the equations. Okay, when I was looking for material for my Tripolitan, I looked at the Computer History Museum, and it turns out that the guy who started switching theory was a guy named Claude Shannon. For his
Communication.
master's thesis, he introduced Boolean algebra in the design of telephone switching systems. So that's the start of switching theory, which you now take. To show you how prolific this guy is, for his PhD thesis, he wrote something on information theory. Okay?
Which started something entirely different.
So you can see the reason why they did not let him out of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So master's thesis, switching theory, PhD thesis, information theory. Okay, so that gives you an idea why I'm still here. I'm open to questions. Okay?
So it's an interesting story. Mga kikwento ni Doc Alarilla, 1950s. Imagine that the difficult times of the department. 7 people sa kanila papatakbo ng department. Tapos, at hanggang sa makarating siya sa stature na ngayon. So, all of those are under the leadership of Dr. Alarilla as the chair of the department. So, may mga questions kayo. May interesting question. Ilan ang estudyante nun? Sir, ilan ang estudyante nun? Nung tayo yung chair.
When I was student, there were 30 people per class.
30 per class.
When we graduated, around 27 of us graduated. 1/3 of this came from previous class.
So, normal naman pala.
It took a long time to graduate with the degree. Very few of us graduated within 5 years.
During the time ni Doc Alarilla, ako tatanungin.
So, ano pa?
Other interesting questions, trivia. Magkano ang ikot nun? 5 cents daw, sabi nito.
Hi. Well, my question is, how do you relax or take a break from studying?
Mostly spiritual.
Anong spirits ba ito? Pinag-usapan natin.
Spiritual called San Miguel.
Kapag sinabi ito, ano yung spiritual, alam niyo na ibig sabihin ito. Spiritual enlightenment.
Actually, when I was younger, before I started, I used to run around the oval. Because I used to play basketball during my undergrad. So after that, I could not play basketball anymore. I just ran around the oval. Unfortunately, I cannot do that anymore because I don't want to damage my knees. Okay. Again, maybe part of the reason why I stayed was I was blessed with good health. So I don't need money for medication except for the San Miguel.
Spirits.
Actually, what I spend for San Miguel is less than what my wife spends for
Medication.
maintenance for high blood pressure.
Ano pa? Other questions? Wait, ano? interesting questions din. Ang gusto niyong very rare opportunity na malaman yung history about, hindi lang triple about UP in general, way back, they were there. Questions? Wala na. 5 cents ang inabutan yung UP Econ, sir.
Well, you have to remember, during my grade school, there was no econ.
Pagpasok ko yata, ano ba? 1
I
to 5
used,
ang
I
Econ.
used to walk to school from one end of the campus to the
Dati
other.
walang dito.
I guess that's part of why my legs are strong.
Mm. Okay, so other questions? If there are none, sige, let's give applause to Dr. Alarilla for sharing his insights into the history and what it has become now. So from then, 7 people up to what it is now, so that's because of the leadership of Dr. Alarilla and his family. And succeeding generations of faculty. So we always try to maintain, napansin niyo pa natin natin nag-recruit ng mga bago from every batch because kailangan gawin yun eh. Some of the you has to stay as part of the department kasi may mga tao na mag-retire. And we have to keep putting in new talents into the faculty. That's part of our process. Okay, what is next after the talk of Dr. Alarilla? Discussions, tapos na yan. Presente ba? Paano ginagawa ito?
Hindi ko rin alam.
So, basahin ko lang. So, we would like to present the certificate of appreciation awarded to Dr. Alarilla Jr., BSEE 1966, for his invaluable sharing of knowledge and experience as research speaker given this 25th day of January, the year of our Lord 2016 at the PLDT Lecture Hall, University of the Philippines, Diliman. So we'd like to present the certificate of appreciation of Manuel for our Centennial lecture series. Thank you very much for your valuable efforts. Picture.
Kailan ba?
Mga 5 dyan. 1, 2, 3. Wait lang.
Oops.
1, 2, 3. Wait lang. One more.
Lametta flash.
Thank you.
Okay, so that at least gives us a historical perspective. What next? Closing remarks by our director of the HRD.
Hello. So, magandang hapon sa lahat. We are planning a number of activities for the Centennial celebration. And this is one of them. To give you an insight of where we came from. At the end of the day, sabi nga sa Pilipino, ang taong hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. So, looking back in the 50s, how bad we were, and comparing it to where we are now, just gives you an insight na malayo na yung narating ng EEE, at ng EEEI, pero hindi pa tayo natatapos. Bakit? Kasi hindi pa rin tayo yung number 1. Number 1 ka lang sa Pilipinas, pero we shouldn't rest doon. Marami pa rin tayong pwedeng matalo, and una na doon is Chula, tsaka NUS. So yun yung next challenge natin. How do we start competing with these universities?
Singapore yan.
Because at the end of it all, mas magaling tayong mga Pilipino kaysa sa mga kasama natin sa ASEAN. And that's something that is true, something that I have seen, we have seen, nung nag-aral kami sa labas. So the next challenge for us, as EEEI, is how do we reach the next stage? And I owe yung state natin ngayon to the efforts nga ni Doc A, Doc Alarilla, mga unang doktor sa amin, for putting that passion to be where we are now. And ang challenge ko ngayon sa lahat ng kasama ko rito, mga faculty ko, sana tayo pupunta. Saan tayo pupunta? Okay? So with that, I hope you would always consider this lecture series as an integral part of this year. Kung tayo palagi, we'll make sure that we will invite very interesting people that you can talk to. Pero more than that, we'll use this lecture series to be part of a forum. Kasi as we move forward, hindi naman pwedeng UP problems na kailangan natin pag-usapan dito. To be at a grade, to start functioning and start being part of the bigger picture, we need to make the policies para sa gobyerno. So aside from being number one sa region, we need to start being there for the government as well. So okay na tayo sa research, we're getting there, pero kulang pa yun. Dapat pag may problema ang gobyerno, ang una niya pupuntahan, tayo. And that should be something
Dami natin problema.
challenge natin. And it has to start now. Okay? With that, thank you very much.